anticipated comebacks in pop. After 40 years, Abba are finally back with a new studio album. Benny Andersson and Björn Ulvaeus from the group chatted about how the record eventually got made.
For decades, Abba fans dreamed of the iconic Swedish pop group reuniting to create new music. When the band finally announced their comeback album Voyage in 2021, it felt like a dream come true. But behind the scenes, not everything went as smoothly as it seemed. According to reports, the creative forces behind Abba, Benny Andersson and Björn Ulvaeus, didn't necessarily see eye to eye about the direction of the project at all. So, what really happened? Why did Benny and Björn reportedly clash over the reunion album? Abba, the Swedish pop phenomenon that dominated the charts in the 1970s and early 80s, became one of the most iconic bands in music history, with hits like Dancing Queen, Mamma Mia, and Waterloo. However, after nearly a decade of success, the group officially went their separate ways in 1982, citing personal issues and a desire to pursue individual projects. For fans, it marked the end of an era, one filled with glittering costumes, unforgettable melodies, and an entrancing dynamic between the two couples at the heart of the band. Over the years, Abba's music only grew in popularity. The smash hit Mamma Mia musical and its later film adaptations introduced a new generation to their timeless sound. Yet, despite their enduring influence, repeated hopes for a reunion always seemed to fall short. Both fans and the media speculated about whether Benny Andersson, Björn Ulvaeus, Agnetha Fältskog, and Anni-Frid Lyngstad would ever record music together again. This is why the announcement of Voyage in 2021 was nothing short of monumental. Not only did it mark Abba's first album in 40 years, but it also came alongside plans for a revolutionary concert series, featuring digital avatars of the group performing their greatest hits alongside new songs. The project, according to Benny, was fueled by the group's collective feeling that we wanted to do it before it was too late. But making this comeback was far from simple. Crafting a new album after decades of separation required the group to revisit old dynamics, navigate evolving creative differences, and work under immense pressure to meet the sky-high expectations of their fans. Although Voyage was celebrated upon its release, the path to bringing new Abba music to the world wasn't without its challenges, and Benny and Björn's differing visions would become a pivotal hurdle to overcome. While Abba's reunion project, Voyage, appeared seamless to fans, reports suggest that creative tension between Benny Andersson and Björn Ulvaeus emerged during the development of the album. The duo, known for their legendary songwriting partnership, allegedly found themselves at odds over how to approach their long-anticipated comeback, reflecting differences in both creative ambitions and personal priorities. According to sources close to the project, Benny was the driving force behind exploring new musical ideas. He reportedly wanted to create an album that pushed boundaries and experimented with modern sounds, an artistic departure from the classic ABBA formula. Benny had mentioned in interviews that creating Voyage was less about revisiting the past and more about crafting music that felt fresh, once saying, "It's not nostalgia. This is about showing what we can still do today." On the other hand, Björn was said to be more cautious when approaching the new material. He was reportedly concerned about protecting Abba's legacy and feared that venturing too far from their well-established style might alienate their loyal fan base. While Björn supported reuniting for the love of the music, he was quoted in an interview saying, "We didn't need to make another album, but if we did, it had to feel true to who we were." One of the main sticking points, according to insiders, was the number of songs to include on the album. Benny was initially keen on recording a larger collection of material, seeing this as Abba's opportunity to fully re-establish their presence in the music world. Björn, however, preferred to scale back, focusing on quality over quantity and ensuring the new songs aligned with Abba's timeless appeal. These differing perspectives, while heated at times, reportedly didn't escalate to full-blown conflict. Instead, they showcased the creative push and pull that had always defined their partnership. As Benny and Björn have often stated in previous interviews, disagreements were not unusual during the early years of Abba's rise to fame. and their ability to balance opposing ideas often resulted in some of their most celebrated work. Ultimately, a compromise was reached, and Voyage was released with 10 carefully selected tracks. This resolution highlighted their shared understanding of what made Abba's music truly authentic, marking the album as both a tribute to their legacy and a step forward into a modern era. This delicate balance, though hard-won, shows how, even after decades apart, their collaboration remained rooted in respect for the music above all else. While Benny and Björn were at the forefront of Abba's creative disagreements during the making of Voyage, Agnetha Fältskog and Anni-Frid Lyngstad largely stayed out of the debate. Both singers reportedly left much of the decision-making to Benny and Björn, trusting the duo's long track record of delivering cohesive, memorable songs. In interviews, Anni-Frid acknowledged this dynamic, stating, "Benny and Björn have always been the creative leaders of Abba, and we respect their process. Agnetha and I contribute on the vocal side. That's always been where we shine." This sentiment suggests that while Agnetha and Frida played an integral role in creating the signature Abba sound, they were less involved in negotiating the broader creative direction of the reunion. However, it's clear that both singers were deeply committed to ensuring that Abba's legacy was preserved in any new material. Agnetha, in particular, was hesitant to even join the reunion initially, having previously expressed concerns about the pressures of returning to the spotlight after so many years. Despite their distance from the songwriting disagreements, their shared expectation that the album would live up to Abba's standards may have indirectly influenced Benny and Björn's creative compromises. Despite these concerns, the reported disagreements between Benny and Björn didn't seem to create significant tension within the group. Instead, the collaboration reportedly brought a newfound sense of unity, as they all stepped back into the studio together for the first time in decades. Reflecting on the experience, Anni-Frid later said, "Once we started singing, it felt like no time had passed. The feeling was overwhelming and wonderful." In the end, although Agnetha and Frida's roles in the creative discussions were limited, their presence and their insistence on maintaining Abba's integrity helped shape the final vision for Voyage, ensuring that it remained not just a reunion, but a celebration of everything Abba stood for. In the end, Benny and Björn reached a compromise that allowed Voyage to move forward without sacrificing the essence of what made Abba's music iconic. Rather than pursuing Benny's initial idea of creating a more extensive collection of songs, the pair settled on a concise album of 10 carefully crafted tracks. This decision respected Björn's insistence on maintaining the quality and authenticity that fans would expect from a comeback after 4 decades. Although Benny was eager to push creative boundaries, the final album reflects a balance between innovation and nostalgia. Tracks like "I Still Have Faith in You" and "Don't Shut Me Down" harken back to the emotional storytelling and rich melodies that defined Abba's earlier work, while songs such as "Keep an Eye on Dan" show flashes of their willingness to experiment with more modern, risk-taking elements. The resolution not only preserved the integrity of the project, but also reinforced the group's collaborative nature. Björn and Benny's ability to navigate their differing perspectives ultimately resulted in an album that successfully bridged the gap between Abba's past and present. Reflecting on the process, Benny admitted in an interview with The Guardian, "We didn't agree on everything, but that's what makes the music come alive. It's about finding the right balance." This creative give and take defined the final direction of Voyage and cemented it as a genuine continuation of Abba's legacy, rather than a rushed or forced attempt to capitalize on their fame. The album's eventual release was met with widespread acclaim, proving that their compromise had paid off, both critically and for their legions of devoted fans.